제 472일의 오션 세미나를 시작하겠습니다.
네.
잘 들리시죠?
네.
네, 기록을 시작했습니다. 오늘 발표는 노엘 인턴으로 계시는 노엘님께서 해주시겠습니다. 네, 시작해 주세요.
So can you still see my presentation in the
I
Zoom?
can see your PPT very well.
네, 보입니다.
Okay. So today I will present the paper Linking Marine Litter Accumulation and Beach User Perceptions on Pocket Beaches of Northern Sardinia in Italy. It's a paper by Corinne Corbeau et al. First, I'll just read you the abstract. Marine litter is a global issue, and one way to face this problem is to increase awareness in the marine litter is a global issue, and one way to face this problem is to increase citizen knowledge and awareness. In our study, we analyzed and quantified the
Sorry,
content
disturbing
of marine
you still
litter
on
five pocket
first
beaches
page.
located in North Sardinia. From the 7,975 collected items, plastic was the most important litter category. Regarding the marine litter sources, no-source and public litter were the most abundant. Waste density is quite high and characterized by great variability due to two site-specific factors: geomorphological control and human influences. Those key aspects underlying the importance of further understanding marine debris fate and transport and human behavior, because they denote a crucial role to achieve effective marine debris management. In addition, social surveys were performed to assess users' perception and knowledge of marine litter. The results of the interviews shows that people are aware of the negative impacts that may arise from the presence of waste and recognize that the presence of litter on the beach is mainly due to human behavior. However, the comparison of beach users' perception and the marine litter collected reveals that users only have partial knowledge and of the waste composition, requiring further actions involving different targets. So first, just of the introduction from the paper, they defined marine litter based on the definition from UNEP and NOAA as any persistent manufactured or processed solid material discarded, disposed, or abandoned in the marine and coastal environment. 80% of global marine litter is from land-based activities, municipal landfills, river transport from landfills, discharge of untreated wastewater, tourism, etc. And 20% comes from marine pollution sources, such as maritime traffic and offshore installations. Currently, most data comes from easy, accessible sandy beaches. However, this study looked at pocket beaches, which are defined as relatively small beaches, included between two headlands, which control hydrosedimentary processes, making them unique environments with considerable variability regarding wave exposure, sedimentology, and morphology. Coastal tourism is an important economic sector which may be affected by marine litter and is also very seasonal. And the previous study showed accumulation rates of marine litter on a Mediterranean island follows a seasonal pattern, increasing up to 4.7 times during high touristic season. And also, citizens play a key role in addressing marine litter through their lifestyle and consumption patterns, waste management practices, and other commitments in the implementation of policies aimed at reducing marine litter. Therefore, analyzing the user's perception and knowledge regarding environmental issues is a key step in coastal management. Based on this introduction, the paper or the researchers formulated two research goals. First, investigating the origin and process of accumulation of marine litter on touristic pocket beaches of Sardinia, characterized by different geomorphological features and human activities, and then analyze and understand each user's perception and knowledge about marine litter, considering that 50% of the tourists' arrivals on the island was in north of Sardinia. And the final aim of this paper is to address the gap between the problem and the beach users, to suggest some implications regarding targeted awareness measures. Here you can see the study area, North Sardinia, and waste collection and public perception investigation of marine litter have been carried out on 5 pocket beaches located here in this area of North Sardinia. And the study sites were first identified according to their geomorphological characteristics, such as concavity and indentation.
Hello.
And then the pilot sites were selected according to their tourism characteristics. So if it's a public beach, study sites were identified according to their geomorphological characteristics, such as concavity and indentation. And the pilot sites were selected according to their tourism characteristics, such as public and private beach. The 2 pocket beaches were chosen in a maritime protected area in 2 different zones, zone B and C, with different restriction to human uses. And also the studied beaches have been classified as urban, urbanized, and natural. So after that, the 5 beaches were all characterized like this. Here is an example of Cala de Poncesi. And first, the location, orientation, and wave characteristics were defined. So, for example, the height of the wave, etc. So you can see here. And then the geomorphological characteristics were defined. So the beach sediment, the length, width, and slope of the beach, the morphology, and the beach orientation, and also the indentation. And then the tourism activities were defined. So if it's rural, if it's regulated or not. Yes, and this was done for all the 5 beaches. 2 of these beaches were natural in the marine protected area where tourism and fishing is regulated. And there was 1 urban beach with great tourist and ecological values. 1 urbanized beach where swimming is prohibited because it's in a zone for industrial use, but recreational fishing is allowed. And then there was not 1 natural beach with intense tourism. For the indentation index, it's just the ratio between the actual length of the beach, it's L divided by D, which is the Euclidean length. So basically a low index means the beach is very straight. And if the index gets higher, it's more of a pocket beach. Now for the methods of the monitoring, due to seasonal variation, to record seasonal variation in quantity and composition, the surveys took place in winter of 2017, spring, summer, and fall of 2019, with parallel face-to-face interviews during the 2019 surveys. And similar as we do here with ocean, there was a 100-meter transect, which was divided into 20 cells, with each 5 meters width. And then all the macro litter was collected, identified, and classified using the master list of categories of litter items. And then also they characterized how they float, if they float or not. They used the Clean Coast Index, CCI, to identify the cleanliness of the coast, of the beach. And this is just the total plastic litter on the transect divided by the total area of the transect times constant. And these values range from 0 to 2 for a very clean beach, and then over 20 is extremely dirty. To determine the sources of the marine litter, there were 2 methods used. So one is based on the OSPR Commission and uses indicator items to define the sources. This method was only used for the top 10 items. And then they also used the matrix scoring technique, where this considers individual item categories, so public, and assesses the likelihood of it originating from a series of potential sources using different item characteristics. The percentage that each potential source, so public litter, sewage related debris, fly tipping, which is kind of illegal dumping, land runoff, shipping, and fishing related debris, contributes to the total debris was then estimated using a likelihood scoring system, going from very unlikely to very likely or not considered. For the user's perception method, a survey was designed to provide an overview of public perceptions of marine debris issues using face-to-face random anonymous interviews. An ad hoc questionnaire was then developed, which consists of 3 parts. First, they asked for the socio-demographic variables, then personal experience and opinion, knowledge regarding marine debris, and lastly, users' perception of marine litter made during their visit experience was asked. Most of the questions in sections 2 and 3 was quantitative social survey method, whereby respondents selected a response option that was then coded as a number. So 1 could be yes, 2 no, then 1 extremely unlikely, and 2 5, which is extremely likely. While for other questions, the respondents had to provide quantitative answers, for example, for the composition of marine litter or the degradation period. I can show you the questionnaire real quick. So here you can see the questionnaire used. There's just the socio-demographic variables, and then it's about the personal experience. So how often do you go to a beach? Do you observe debris or waste? And then they had to tell them how many debris items they saw on which location, and also mark the percentage of the composition, just so on. Different kinds of questions, and the scores were calculated as means and provided standard deviations in the results section. And the chi-square analysis was used to investigate any associations between the influence of the beach typology or visitor type, as well as award marine litter issues. The survey was performed between July and October 2019 on all the beaches, and the questionnaire was randomly delivered to 220 beach users older than 18 years old. For the results, a total of almost 8,000 coastal debris items was found, with a maximum of 3,208 items on Portofero in summer 2019, and a minimum of 88 items in Fiume Santo in winter 2017. Generally, plastic items were represented the most, with a total of 19% on average, with a maximum of 97% in Portofero and Cala de Poncesi, and a minimum of 60% in La Perosa. The type of items differ from beach location, but some types were more widespread, for example, plastic fragments, plastic bags, etc. And floating items were generally more frequent than sinking items, with more than 60% on average, while in medium to low and low indented beaches, it exceeded 90%, and in very low indented beaches, it's lower than 80%. The origin of the 10 most frequent items in general can be related to non-sourced or public litter. And non-sourced items represent a range from 30 to 90%, while public litter accounted for 5 to 65%. And items related to fishing or shipping activities represent less than 10% in almost all the surveys. Using a different scoring system, it indicated that generally more than 30% of the litter found was from public sources, with other contributions made from land runoff, fishing, and shipping. So here you can see the results of the survey and the cleanness index, which ranges from 1 at 3 of these beaches, which is very clean, to 34 and 54, which is then 2 very dirty beaches, and we have 4 which are classified as dirty, and the rest are just clean or very clean. For the interviews, here you can see just the socio-demographic variables, so mainly Italians and mostly residents living less than 50 kilometers away. A bit under 60% were women, and mostly between 21 and 40 years old. And the interviewed people often visit the surveyed beaches, showing that they have some sort of knowledge of the place. And generally, the respondents choose to spend holidays with family, friends, or as a couple. Here are more results of the interview. So we have figure A, which is the user's perception of the presence of waste on the beach, And then B is the presence of waste on the beach on the day of the interview. As you can see, 51% of the beach user always observe litter and 39% often, while 42% of the users had noticed the presence of waste on the surveyed beach during their visit. The results for beach users' perception of the presence of waste on the beach show that there's no statistically significant association between user residence or beach typology and the general presence of litter. However, residents are more aware of the presence of beach litter compared to non-residents, which is not true for the private beach, where residents and non-residents both reported the same amount, or both reported the absence of litter because there was not a lot of trash. Residents or non-residents usually have a similar perception regarding the composition of marine litter and also regarding the number of items, except for cigarette butts, sticks, and paper. Users indicated that the quantity of litter could be greater on public beaches compared to private ones. And residents also indicated a higher presence of marine litter on the public beach compared with non-residents. Now about the results of users' knowledge of marine litter. The beach users considered that plastic materials and cans have a similar degradation time, and they believe these materials are among the longest to be degraded, while glass bottles take a little bit less to degrade. The interviewees believe that the main sources are tourism, badly managed landfills, and uncontrolled waste disposal, while less importance was given to maritime activities, marine traffic, offshore industries, fishing, agriculture, and aquaculture, and 8% to fluvial transportation. The weight assigned by the respondents to the behavior that mostly influences waste production is linked to human social habits or behaviors, the use of plastic for packaging and commercial products, and waste disposal management. The respondents indicated that pollution, poor water quality, and poor beach quality are the most negative impact of the waste present. Now, for the discussion, the results show a heterogeneous distribution of marine litter between the different surveys and the different sites, in particular regarding the number of collected items. But they confirmed that plastic represents the main category, generally between 60 to 90%, which was also a number reported by different other studies. The variability of the litter abundance observed on the beaches is mainly due to two site-specific factors, geomorphological control and human influences. First, to the human influences. The two methods estimated different percentages for land-based sources. So the method developed by Ocean and Conservation estimates land-based source items from 80 to 100%, while the metrics approach gives percentage from 60 to 70%. One method was only applied to the top 10 most frequent items, while the second one considered all collected litter. So, and also the metric scoring technique provides a more accurate and realistic picture because it considers more than one source for each item type with the involvement of expert experiences that informs on human activities and habits. So this is an explanation why the two methods give different percentages. Public litter is the main source of marine litter, while fishing activity are the second source. Tourism and recreational activities characterizing the study area are the main inputs. And on the coast or inland, the litter gets carried by winds and rivers. Winds and successively generated waves are believed to be the main transport agent. The importance of tourism and recreational activities is shown by the systemic presence among the 10 most collected items in all the surveyed sites of consumer-related and short-lived single-use items like lolly sticks, shopping bags, and plastic caps. The poor waste management practices should also be considered as a main source of beach litter. And the results reveal that these direct tourism effects and managing strategies by comparing the beach cleanliness index. The Portofino Beach, for example, is characterized by strong bathing activities in the summer of 2019, unauthorized and unmanaged by the municipality, and it has a very high cleanness index, so it's dirty. While the beach of La Pelosa has a very low cleanness index as a result of the management municipality policy. The tourist restrictive measures applied to the marine protected area of Asinara, which do not include regular beach cleaning operations, are less efficient. The results of the scoring matrix approach confirm the importance of fishing-related items, which were present on all the sites, reaching 20%. This is due to the small-scale fisheries that play an important role in the economics of Sardinia, and also the importance of shipping-related items, which can be linked to tourism and fishing activity and land run-up items. The results show the crucial role of considering secondary activities in waste distribution, and that local socioeconomic aspects should be considered for the definition of long and short-term strategies. The results outline a low environmental consciousness requiring further awareness activities, for instance, through education or legislative efforts. Now for the geomorphological factors. The indentation factors and the wave exposition influence the distribution and abundance of marine litter. This was also shown in various studies before, and that geomorphological factors have an important role in marine litter distribution. More marine litter was found in more indented pocket beaches, while the greatest amounts occurred in small coves situated on large headlands, resulting from a funneling effect of smaller coves and a catchment effect of larger headlands. The more embayed morphology of Cala de Ponzesi and its orientation create calm water areas, favoring the deposition onto beaches and backshore of marine debris, and in particular floating plastic items. The low geomorphological profile of Cala Spalamontore and its exposure most probably favor the transportation of the debris, which may be deposited further inland during storm event. Geomorphological factors may be used to plan coastal cleanup activities by identifying potential accumulation zones and consequently define cleanup localities, in particular for remote and rural small pocket beaches. The relationship between the total length of the shoreline in the embayment and the openness may represent a useful criterion for identifying the eventual presence of litter. So the discussion why beach user perception and knowledge as a key to better management. Users who mainly choose the beach for recreation, nature, and landscape mention that they regularly notice the presence of litter, causing significant negative health impacts from the presence of waste or marine debris. They believe that beach debris mainly composed of plastic items, organic waste, and cigarettes, and is more frequent on public beaches than on private ones. However, this perception of respondents agrees with the litter quantities registered on the two beaches. The perceptions related to the beach cleanliness of the visited beach are most influenced by resident status. So residents are more aware of the presence of marine litter compared to non-residents, except for the private beach, for which residents and non-residents agreed to not observe marine litter, which is also revealed in the CCI index. The perceptions related, users perceive pollution in highly frequented remote beaches and not in highly frequented urban beaches. Most of the respondents perceived high pollution on the highly frequented public beach, Portofino, while the respondents of La Perosa, which is a private beach, perceived low pollution. And this difference could just be related to the cleaning strategies of these two beaches. So residents have more negative opinions of public beaches than non-residents. This result confirms that residents local beach users are more concerned and informed about marine and coastal environments than non-residents. Users also mentioned that the main cause of marine debris dispersion are linked to human behavior, especially tourism, poorly managed landfill, and uncontrolled waste disposal. And this result also agrees with the debris collected on the beaches. Only a few interviewees indicated that organic beach items are not litter, and this partial knowledge and perception of marine litter have been emphasized by the perception of the interviewees regarding the waste composition, which is not influenced by the resident status or the beach typology. Personal experience influenced by past observation, beliefs, or by the numerous disseminations, actions, as well as the dimensions of the litter items may also explain this discrepancy between beach users' observations and the actual marine litter composition. It can be assumed that the diversity of the public perception, increasing the public information on marine litter may increase their awareness and therefore enhance citizen actions against litter. So now, just for the conclusion, the study shows locally high levels of beach litter pollution, which may negatively affect tourism. The spatial distribution of marine litter is affected by geomorphological and human factors. The attribution source of sources is complex due to the high number of objects of uncertain or mixed origin. Marine litter observed in the study was attributed to non-source public litter, fishing, shipping, and land runoff, and could be due to tourist users' behavior, poorly managed landfills, and uncontrolled waste disposal. Plastic represented the most important material of marine litter, and also note the results indicated that the measures adopted by the European Commission to reduce the marine litter do not have yet allowed for reaching the desired target, as underlined by the great presence of marine litter. So yes, this would be it.
네, 감사합니다. 요약을 논문보다 더 잘해주셨어요. 목소리가 굉장히 좋아서 듣기 좋았습니다.
네.
네, 노엘 목소리가 굉장히 좋네요.
감사합니다.
네, 이 논문이 제가 아침에 따닥 읽었는데 일단 글이 적은 건 아니고 뒤에 서플리멘터리가 좀 길어요. 그래서 이 서플리멘터리를 잘 보지 않으면 이해가 잘 안 될 것 같고, 그리고 제가 볼 때는 서플리멘터리를 요약을 그닥 그렇게 잘 해주진 않은 것 같아요. 여러 가지 조사한 거를 표나 이런 거 그림으로 더 특히나 그 설문조사한 걸 써줬으면 이해하기 좋았을 텐데 이렇게 서플리멘터리가 많죠. 지금 보여주고 계신데 여기 10 아이템도 보통은 이 해변별로 다 이렇게 나열하지 않는데 이 해변을 다 이렇게 나열해 줬기 때문에 이 품목이 맨 왼쪽에 쭉 세로로 나오죠. 그리고 비치는 가로로 나와요. 그래서 첫 번째 CP라고 하는 이 해변에서 10개 항목이 밑으로 표시되어 있어서 각 해변에서 다 탑 10 아이템이 다르게 이렇게 나와 있는데 이렇게 보려면 이게 조금 힘들죠. 그래서 보통은 이렇게 서플리멘터리에 나오면 본문에 요약을 해서 보여주는데 표로 보여주든지 그림으로 보여주든지 그렇지 않더라고요. 그래서 저는 그렇게 읽기가 쉽지는 않았습니다. 어쨌든 뭐 이렇게 돼 있고 서플리멘터리에 있는 질문을 다 읽어보시고 본문을 읽어야 이게 이해가 좋더라고요. 근데 노엘님 요약하신 그 영문 하나하나 읽어보시면은 그 서플리멘터리 옆에 보고 이렇게 읽으면은 답변을 이해하실 수 있을 것 같아요. 발표 잘 해주셨고요. 다른 질문 있으시면 해주세요. 그리고 다른 의견 여기에 들으신 거 듣고 의견 있으면 말씀해 주시고 제가 영어로 말씀해 주셔서 발표를 해 주셔서 제가 느낀 요약만 좀 말씀을 드리면 우리 여기 논문이 요약 인용되어 있는 논문 중에 그 노르웨이 하알이라는 분의 그 논문이 있는데 그 논문에 보면 큰 덩어리로 볼 때는 그 반도라고 하는 튀어나온 부분에서 여기 인덴티드라고 나오죠. 인덴티드라고 여기서는 그렇게 표현을 했는데 네, 아까 잘 찾아주셨더라고요. 여기. 여기는 인덴티드가 왜 톱니바퀴처럼 꼬불꼬불 뜯어먹은 자국 같은 그런 표현이라고도 하는데 여기 보면 오목하게 들어가 있기도 하지만 또 톱니바퀴처럼 이렇게 돼 있잖아요. 이렇게 돼 있는 그 노르웨이 논문에서는 그냥 오목하게 돼 있냐, 불룩 튀어나왔느냐. 불룩 튀어나온 해변은 거의 없죠, 사실은. 그 상식적으로 생각하기에도 이렇게 오목하게 드러나와 있는 해변에 쓰레기가 많을 것 같은데 이 논문도 그렇게 얘기를 했고 그 중에서는 반도에 이렇게 툭 튀어나올 수 있잖아요. 우리나라 지형은 그런 데가 좀 있죠. 그런 데 중에서 그냥 이렇게 오목하게 들어가는 해변이 아니라 크게 볼 때는 튀어나와 있는데 그 중에서 오목하게 들어가 있는데 쓰레기가 많다라는 논문이 있는데 여기서도 그 논문하고 거의 유사한 결과를 나왔다라는 게 있었어요. 그거하고 또 그리고 저는 퍼블릭 리터라는 말이 아주 모호하게 들렸는데 그거 어떻게 생각하시는지 노엘님 읽으시면서 어떻게 생각하시는지 좀 듣고 싶어요.
영어로 해주세요.
아, 그렇죠. What do you think about public leader? Just leadered by public?
They explained it somewhere. I think it's just like, for example, plastic bags or plastic bottles, just things that the public uses.
And leadered on purpose.
Focus?
Purpose. I mean, 의도적으로가 무슨 말이죠? On purpose. Public leader 하면 이야기가 그렇게 쉬울 수도 있지만 좀 모호한 개념인 것 같아요. 그래서 여기 제가 Noel, could you show us the paper?
Yes.
And Tudor and Williams scoring matrix method. On the paper, they show the method on table 1. Yeah, this one. And we can assign the score, it means percentage, for A to E. It means A is public leader, B is fishing related, something like that. And we have one item, is very likely item, then we can assign the percentage to public leader, to fishing related, or to what? Something like that for the sources. Yeah, here, Swiss, they selected the sources like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Public leader, Swiss related debris, flying tipping, and land runoff, shipping, and fishing related debris. And if we think that public leader is very likely, and here A is public leader, B is Swiss, something like that, and C is runoff. Then for the item like a plastic bag, we can give them some percentage numbers. This is the percentage, so we can add up later for the item. Then we can compare the score like that. So for the first time, we have to understand what is public leader for the sources. Here, they mentioned the flying tipping. Flying tipping is just leader the item. And public leader is different, so I was confused.
I think fly tipping is illegal dumping of waste.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, by companies or something, they just throw their litter in the ocean. And then public litter is by the beach users itself. For example.
I thought differently. Fly tipping is the item that people litter at any place, like on the beach or on the street. So I thought it's better to define more specifically for fly tipping and public leader. Fly tipping, yeah. I think you're right. Public leader item is the debris, the people leader at any place. And fly tipping is illegally dumped. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I asked questions for myself. And other questions from the office?
No.
No questions?
No questions.
Noel, do you have any comments from this paper?
I think I've said enough in the paper already. Something.
You don't have much debris, maybe because you live in inland the country.
Yes. I cannot talk about personal experience.
Okay. And I read several papers from Mediterranean beaches, and they had a higher percentage of shipping related and fishery related, but in this paper it's relatively low than other papers. And the Mediterranean is very highly polluted area in the world for flooding and the beach debris. And this number, I mean, the mean number is 0 point something and 2 items per square meter. I'm not familiar with the density with item per square meter because we in Korea for KNMDMP we use the item per meter. But they have extremely dirty for CCI index. It means 20 items per square meter is very highly polluted. And they usually worldwide CCI index is popular to judge the beach is dirty or not. So that's all from me. If you don't have any questions, let's wrap it up the seminar. Thank you so much, Noel.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
수고하십시오.
네, 기록 중지해 주시고, 네, 저는 방 나가고 다시 워크숍으로 가겠습니다.
네.
네.